Grab your wine. It's time for Rosé All Day and Julie's a Mess, where we talk about current events and living in an intersex life. And now, here's Julie.
It's on now.
Welcome. So, welcome to Rosé All Day, Julie's a Mess. This is episode 7. I don't know. I can't count. I should have been a stripper.
I think strippers might be able to count at least their money.
I can count that. I just can't. Gosh, it feels like I've been doing this for years. I haven't, but you know. So Rosé All Day, each week, I start off the show with, we're going to introduce Irene in a second. Hi, Irene. But each week I like to introduce the show with trying out a different rosé. Now, here's the deal this week. I am a super poor white girl, hence why I'm trying to get a wine sponsor. Did not have money this week to buy a wine, not even a cheap bougie one. So I was like, what am I going to do? I don't want to drink one from like a past week because that's, Then I looked in the freezer and I realized I kind of have a rosé, kind of. It's Smirnoff Rosé Strawberry Vodka. It's more vodka, but I mixed it with Sprite. Technically an alcohol, technically a rosé. So that's what I'm drinking tonight. And just to mention one more time, this came out last week, but I have new merchandise. It is an XX wine tumbler with my logo, Rosé All Day, and justjulie.com on the back, along with my lipstick stain. You don't get the lipstick stain, but it is $34.99 on my website, justjulie.com. Every purchase, $5 will go to better research of XXY in the intersex community here in the United States, because there definitely needs to be more of that. So check it out if you need something to drink out of. And to give you a quick break, this vodka, I'm not usually a vodka girl, but they've been making infusions lately of these botanicals. And it's really good. Like, it's really light, crisp, fresh on the palate. Irene, I know you're eating tonight, but what are you drinking? Anything?
I know, I gotta get a drink. I didn't even get a chance to do that, so.
It's okay. Irene is joining us. She's busy. She's got kids. She's got a career. She's got kids. I have ducks now, so I kind of feel your pain. Irene, how do you know me?
I know you from our Disney days. So we got to do the everlasting, amazing role of coaches together. We were the inaugural coaches, which was probably the cheesiest designed role at Disney ever.
Yeah, and, for the 25th anniversary parade.
Yes. And I think it was probably one of the worst things. It was fun, but it was one of the cheesiest things we've done.
I didn't actually do coaches a lot. I got trained for it, and then I think I did it like once or twice. I always got stuck in fur. If any Bobby Disney is watching us, we have 5 viewers right now, which is great. Yay, guys, welcome. So yes, Irene and I go way back. She is also currently my attorney. So she's gotten me out of many pickles in the last couple of years. We're going to talk some about that too as we move forward, because a lot of people want to know what's going on with Alabama. I don't really want to talk about Alabama, but it is what it is. Irene comes from a great family. Her whole family worked at Disney. We're going to talk about some of that as well. I've had a huge crush on Julio, her brother, for like centuries, nay. And I love her sister, Sariella. First wedding I ever went to at the Disney Wedding Pavilion. That was fun times. But we're going to talk some about that. Irene Pons, as I call her, Beatrice, but Irene Beatrice is a professor at UCF, the University of Central Florida, in the law department. And last year I had a wonderful opportunity, thanks to her, to speak about what it is to be XXY and intersex to her students, and also have her students partner in trying to, and we did successfully, name a petition and help me get my gender changed in the state of Florida, hoping that Alabama would follow suit, because Alabama has some crazy laws about needing to have sexual reassignment surgery in order to change your birth certificate gender. Being intersex and XXY, that's not something I have to do because I was born both. So we'll talk about more of that later, but I love her. She's a great friend. Let's talk about current events. A lot going on in our crazy world. A lot.
Yes.
Let's see. A new Peruvian frog was discovered in the Amazon jungle. That's
Really?
fun. I wouldn't say that's a current event, but
What did they name it? Did they name it? Like, is it like some sort of archaeological name?
no, I just pulled it up. It is the new frog species unearthed in Peru. Marsupial frog is part of the Gastroheca genus, a type of, they always say these scientific words. It's green. It's got coarse granule dorsal skin, a turquoise iris.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really
Green
pretty.
dorsal, and it's tailless. And it's, you can read about
I didn't know
it.
frogs
I
have
mean-
tails. Frogs don't
Huh?
have tails, do they?
Tails? I think when they're born, they have tadpoles.
Oh,
It
that's
says,
right, when they're tadpoles.
a new species of marsupial frogs have been discovered in Peru's Amazon jungle, the State Service for Natural Protected Areas said on Monday. That's fun and all, and I love that they're finding new species. Obviously, that's awesome. Let's talk about some of the stuff that's not so fun. What's with the shootings this week?
It has been really bad. I mean, that and then watching the George Floyd trial is really emotionally difficult. Like, I don't know
Yep.
if you ever watch any of it, because I can't. It makes me so upset.
I caught some of it the other day. I have Hulu and streaming and all those neat things on your TV that don't allow you to watch any live TV. So I've caught some of it. And the part that I caught is I'd never seen the video before, with the officer's knee on his neck. And it breaks your heart. Like, everybody should be treated with respect. Everybody should give respect. There are different situations with police officers, obviously, but that went way out of hand, way too fast. And I was saying the other day, I think the kid that called in the counterfeit $20 bill, he probably feels like crud. I mean, that's hard to watch. So that, the Knoxville shooting, the Minnesota shooting, all shootings, it's just hard to kind of wrap your brain around it. And, we have to talk about this because I read an article earlier in the week when Prince Philip died. That's Queen Elizabeth's husband, for all y'all that aren't paying attention or don't know.
It's a pretty big deal.
Walt Disney named Aurora's Prince Philip after Prince Philip. And it was the first
Really?
Disney character that followed suit, naming their character after a live royal figure. Because I
That
think
is
Sleeping
really
Beauty
nice.
was done in 59, and it would have been right after she had become queen. So that's interesting, an interesting fact. And he's lived a long life. So
He has. I wonder if, like, with that, not a conspiracy theory, but I wonder if he was like already dying when they let him go home from the hospital, because he's lived a long life. What was he, like 94?
99, I think.
99. Oh my God. Yeah.
99.
Like, I wonder if there was no point of recovery.
And she's up there too. I don't know, because they never said what he was in the hospital for.
That's true.
And then, and I know he'd been in a couple of times. Here's some interesting things that I've heard. I remember hearing that he was really close to Diana. and that he often pulled her aside and said, this is kind of how it is, and I sympathize with you. And I heard that they were really close. I heard that he was extremely close to the boys. And you and I don't know if you're over there, but I mean, they often came to Disney World together as a unit, as a family, Diana and the boys. And it was kind of cool to see them outside of that bubble and being, and her trying to give them a real, actual, as close to normal life as she could,
Yeah.
It's just a sad story.
It is.
Well, we are at about 6:10, so we're moving right along. This is good, right? The show usually lasts about an hour and a half each week. I told Irene I would walk her through the show. Sometimes the guests come in a little bit late because they've got busy lives. She has 2 boys.
I know. I came in a sports bra. I'm like, oh my God, I have
She was like, I got to put on a shirt. I got to eat something. Can I eat during the show? I was like, sure. Let me tell you, talking about eating, there is something in Nebraska they call a Frenchie. And I'd been told to get one for like the last 9 months. And I was like, I don't know where you get them at. When I find one, I'll get one. Well, there's a place called Amigos here in Nebraska, and it's kind of like a poor man's Del Taco. If anybody knows what Del Taco is out in California, kind of the West Coast. So it'd be like a poor man's Taco Bell. Taco Bell, Del Taco, Amigos. Anyway.
Below that.
Right. Anyway, they have great food. And they have a Frenchie. And I thought, I'm hungry. I need to eat tonight. Let's go ahead and get it. My friend Charlie, who's staying with me, we went and he was like, yeah, I like Amigos. I want a taco salad. So we go. So what a Frenchie is they make a grilled cheese sandwich. They then enrobe it in cheese and then they deep fry it.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Calories.
Well, yeah, like 1,000 calories. Like that should be your only meal.
But it was so good. And it's really he made me breakfast this morning. He's a great friend. And he was like, hey, Julie, I didn't know you were live on TikTok. I made you 2 breakfast burritos. And I was like, wow. Like, even men I date don't bring me breakfast in bed. Like, I was like, you are a super great friend. Then he mowed my grass. Earlier this week, he painted my kitchen. And then he and my good friend Flo this past weekend built me flower boxes outside of my house for the spring. Like, I'm rocking and rolling with home projects, and it's all thanks to my friends. So,
I think you should keep him around. He sounds like a really great friend.
I've known him for like 2 decades because we met out in California. So, I mean, we've had our ups and downs, but he is a great friend. And the fact that he was like, let me do it for you. I was like, yes, please.
Yeah, I can't even get my husband to do any of that. So
I know. I was like, and you know what's great about it? I don't have to sleep with you. Like, you just did it because you're a great friend. But I did not have to like use this vessel to get free stuff, which is what I've done for the last 9 months. Okay. So, Julie's a mess. This is the part of the show where I tell my guests a story that they hopefully have not heard before. They try, and midway through the story, I will stop and I will say, Irene, you've known me for, like since 1994. You've known me for a long time. Based on what you know about me and how crazy I am and the antics that I get into, how do you think this story ends? And then Irene's going to tell my guests that are listening at home and the people that are watching the podcast at home, she's going to tell her version of what she thinks happens. And then I will tell the truth. So she'll either come really close to it like Charlie did last week, or she may not. But it's a great time for story time. She's a lawyer, so this should be really good for everybody. Like, she should be able to weave a good story. And, you know, she's creative. She was at Disney forever. So we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to start the story off. Now, because we both worked at Disney, and because some people that may stumble upon this webcast may not want the magic ruined, You and I were both the same height range, right?
I was one below you.
Really? You were a tall level.
I was, yeah, because I'm 5'4".
Okay. So we did, I mean, you may have, I don't know. Anyway, adults know that there are adults inside fur, and that's what we called it. If you weren't a face character, you were doing fur. But I don't really want to ruin it for anybody that could be watching, although the story may ruin it anyway. But this story is about Eeyore. And I'm going to tell you what happened to Eeyore on Main Street. And then Irene's going to tell us what, wink, wink, Eeyore did, or how the story ended. Because, y'all will be smart enough to figure out where I fall in this story. Okay. So oftentimes at Disney World in the morning, when the park was just opening, they would do like early bird specials, kind of. That's not what they call it. Early park admission, stuff like that. And so people would come in and they would have Eeyore and his friends, and sometimes Pluto, and sometimes different characters out in Main Street. You know where I'm talking about, in the flag, where the flagpole is, right there at the beginning of the outside the railroad station, going towards the castle. And Eeyore was standing over by the fire station with his back up against the Emporium. And there was a crowd. Popular characters get bombarded. And Eeyore had just started signing. So for the longest time, Eeyore didn't have to sign autographs, but now he did. And Eeyore was, as characters do, it becomes old hat to work morning shifts. And oftentimes you just grab the book and sign, but your attention may be other places, right? Because Eeyore kind of takes in everything, right? All the characters are kind of taking in everything. And this family walked in, and it was a dad, a mom, a son, and a daughter. And the daughter was about 5, 6. And they were close enough. Characters become really good at hearing, right? And so Eeyore was listening and doing his thing and signing autographs and posing for pictures and acting really depressed on this Florida morning. And the dad leans over to the girl, and it's audible enough to hear, says, "If you leave our side one more time today like you did today, you are going back to the Contemporary, and your mom will sit with you all day and watch you while your brother and I run around the park." And then he went, "Actually, your mom's going to come back. We are going to get you a babysitter, and you will sit by yourself in the room until you learn your lesson. Do you understand?" Characters heard this kind of talk all the time. And she kind of looked at him sheepishly and said, "Okay." They hadn't turned around to buy a bottle of water and popcorn before this little girl darted off. And she went up to Eeyore. And she walks behind Eeyore, and she starts to pull on Eeyore's tail. Florida heat was already creeping in. People were already starting to smell and perspire. What did Eeyore do next?
Eeyore sharted in his pants. He was holding it for so long, and he had just had it. And so at that point, the stench was so bad that he started doing squats back and forth so that the wafting could come through everything. And in that tizzy of the situation that was happening, the girl had grabbed Eeyore, and Eeyore was just completely perturbed, and she had his tail, and she was yanking. And in the loudest Eeyore voice and the saddest voice that he could tell, not knowing her backstory, he said, little girl, leave me alone before I poop on you." And then at that point, she started screaming and her parents, and she didn't have to go to the contemporary.
I mean, that's creative. That's creative. Folks, that is not what Eeyore did. That is not what Eeyore did.
What did sweet little Eeyore do?
Eeyore decided that he would teach her a lesson. So Eeyore slowly backed up to the Emporium wall. And slowly Eeyore sat down. Now Eeyore is girthy and soft, kind of like Grimace from Halloween. I mean, from McDonald's. Big body, right? Fluffy. So Eeyore knew that he was not hurting the little girl, but every time the parents came around to see where this little girl had run off to, Eeyore would shift his body weight over her face so you couldn't hear her.
These poor
People in line were like, Eeyore, there's a little girl behind you. And Eeyore would look.
can't see her.
Sign his autographs, take pictures. Finally, Eeyore's greeter comes out and says, hey, Eeyore, I think it was Melissa Brown. Do you remember her? And she was like, hey, Eeyore, let's go get some milk thistle. Let's go take a break and get some milk thistle. So Eeyore stands up, and this little girl stands up, and she's fit to be tied. So she staggers out like a little drunk 5-year-old, and her dad yanks her up faster than you've seen any parent yank their kid up at Disney, is shaking her kind of by one hand, and he says, I just told you if you walked away, that was it. If you walked away, you were going back. I just told you that. Did you not? Like, he's reading her the right act. And she's like, that jackass was sitting on me. And the mom went, that's Eeyore. Now you're lying. Eeyore wouldn't do that. And I was like, or Eeyore was like, cry, cry. And shaking his head. Tisk, tisk. And he said, that's it. You're going back to the contemporary. Wave goodbye to everybody. And so he's leading her out of the railroad station. And she turns around with just crocodile tears running down her face. And Eeyore goes.
So how long did this incident last? That she was just a couple minutes, she was just gone?
Well, she was behind Eeyore for the whole set. But so what, like 30 minutes? 20,
oh my God.
Like 20 minutes. But I think Eeyore taught her a lesson. I bet you she never stepped away hopefully, from her dad and mom again. And, you know, that just goes to show you that, you know, Department 384 rules.
We were a bunch of awesome people.
And we were young.
Young, yes. It was great. It was really good time.
I have lots of Eeyore stories, by the way, but that was one of my favorites. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh. But I feel like characters got away with murder sometimes, but it was great because we didn't always have the help that we needed back then. And so they gave you carte blanche to kind of take care of yourself in some situations.
Yeah, they did. They weren't like micromanaging us. So
no. And now they probably micromanage, but you really had to like. I was talking to Heidi Macklin, who I adore, a couple of months ago on Facebook. And I was like, oh God, like I'm going to talk about stories on my lives that would have gotten me in trouble. And she was like, not so much. She was like, we were very aware of what people were doing and what people needed to do. And she was like, we had total faith and trust in you. And
that's so
I love that about our management team back then.
Yeah, I think it was different times too. I don't think that we'd get away with quite as much as we did then. Like,
I mean, I have stories where Tweedle's steamrolled each other out of the front gate. And stories where Pluto rode the sun. Like, that was the time, though. That was the people don't understand. We didn't have characters did not just have to stand in line. Like, you were able to animate,
interact
in the early 90s and interact. And I remember, Alice in Wonderland bouncing off and being like, I don't have time for this stuff. I gotta go. And people would be like, what? But now she stands in a gazebo and it's like,
hello.
Okay. Yay. We're at the halfway point. So 5 questions. This is where I am going to ask you 5 questions. They can be about you. They can be about me. They can be about us. But I actually, because I was thinking in my head Disney days, and I was thinking Fab 5, and I was thinking favorites and just stuff like that. And Disney's reopening on both coasts. I know it's been opening. Yeah. It's been open in Florida for a while, but people are starting to get back into their Disney. So I just thought, I'm going to start every question that I ask her tonight with, what's your fave? What's your fave? What's your fave? What's your fave? So here we go. 5 questions.
All
with
right.
Irene's Pons, Beatrice. Hashtag Mary Pop-Tart, as we all used to call Mary. The Pop-Tart. So here we go. What is your absolute favorite memory from working at Disney World that you were involved in? What's maybe your favorite guest experience or memory?
That's a really tough one. There's so many. I think the most memorable experiences, there was one time we had children from Give Kids the World that would come to us all the time and be there periodically throughout the years for Christmas parades and Easter. And I formed a relationship with one of these children, and it was just beautiful because throughout the years they would come back to the park and they would come to see me. So I think that was one of my favorite memories, just being that person for that child, that special person, and that I was the one for them. None of the others were the one. It was just.
Now, did you do Pop-Tart? Was she the only face that you did, or did you also do villains?
I did villains. I did. I was friends with Cruella, and I was friends with Snow Queen, and then I was friends with, lots of villains, Anastasia and Rosella.
Nice.
Yes.
We have to inform people that back in the day, Anastasia and Drusilla were drag queens.
Yeah, they were played by men, and they actually did better. They were amazing.
They were, because Joel Strack, I think, did Patrick Strawbridge do it? I want to say he did. But there are so many great ones, and you never would have known. And then I laughed because in the late 90s, when we started getting Karens in the world and people started to complain, they switched over. And I always thought it was funny because I thought, I don't know if I necessarily would want to go to a face character audition and have them be like, you would be a perfect ugly stepsister. I mean, now in light, you're like, they probably were a joy to play. But as an actress, that would have been a joy to run around and play. One of my good friends, Charity, I can't think of her last name right now, but she got to do it and she loved doing it. Okay. What is your favorite thing to do with your boys?
Well, other than trying to keep them out of my office when I'm doing live interviews.
Hi.
Hi, Tanner. Can you say hi to everybody?
Hi, Tanner.
So my favorite thing to do with them is probably read books and cuddle. They're like the best snugglers in the world. And when he says mama, it just melts my heart because he'll just say mama, mama, mama.
And you have a younger one.
This is the baby, so he's 2.
Oh, Tanner, it's a baby. He looks.
Hi, hubby.
Yeah.
Oh, and now he doesn't want to go with daddy.
Hi, Tanner.
Hey, bring me water.
And then you have bring me water, honey. Oh, I don't have one.
Somebody, you're like, I don't have a honey. I'll virtually send you one. Aww.
Right. I have a lot of men that are interested. And I think when I get my breast surgery, which I know.
I was going to show you my boobs tonight. I have
We
them.
can't do that on YouTube.
I know, but you can because I actually have them. I'll have to grab them.
Well,
My old ones.
I mean, people want to know what I decided, and I'm definitely getting a lift. And then I'm currently at 38C, and I just want perkier and fuller because, as I told my breast surgeon at my consult, I feel like King Louis when I look in the mirror. So, orangutan titties are not attractive. So, I'm going to go to a 38D, which I think is great for my frame and shape and height. And he's going to do about, I think he said 650 cc's.
Okay.
And that'll just give me the volume that I want and put them where I want, which let's be honest, I have beautiful hair. And when I travel on planes, I don't want to mess it up. I'd like to be able to, look, my hands are like, that wasn't even. I'd like to be able to just kind of rest my head on them.
What? That's
not use the travel pillow.
You're ridiculous. Yes. Well, I support you, and you know I do. I was an advocate against it. And so by saying I'm going to show you my boobs, it's my implants that I had taken out. I saved them. So I'm on the opposite spectrum where I had them taken out for health reasons, and I feel so much better.
Well, you had gotten really sick, and I know not everybody goes through that, but you had gotten you have autoimmune issues as well. That's a connect that we have, and they had really made you sick. I'm a little worried, but I'm 46, and they say, they last 10 years, 11 years before you need a redo. And I'm like, I probably won't be here in 11, 12 years. I might, but.
Oh, I hope you really are. But yeah, I mean, from an point of view, I miss them. I miss what looked like having them in clothing and just going out. And I, you enjoy the attention too, right?
Yes.
And it kind of completes your overall look. Like I wear clothes now, and like I'm wearing this shirt, and it's just like there's nothing there. I'm less than an A cup now after having it taken out. But I had them for 20 years, and it was 20 years too long. And I'm kind of the opposite of you, where I have my children, I'm married, I have my husband, I'm happy. And before I would use them as an asset to get in relationships. And
yes, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I'm driving around in my truck this summer in a bikini top, and I'm gonna be like, single. And Juleigh, what's yours? Do you like them?
I'll send you.
I already have guys that are like, can I be the first to hold them? I'm like, maybe I should auction off because I need money. The first, outside of my doctor, who gets to touch them first. Maybe I should on TikTok be like, who wants to touch them to the highest bidder? I will fly to your house and you can just hold them.
We should start have you thought about the OnlyFans page so that way we can have it an exclusive? I mean, as your attorney, I'm always thinking of protecting your rights, and your tits are part of the assets that I need to protect now because they're going to be protected intellectual property, whatever we can,
Yeah. Let's get on it. Yes. Yeah. I have an OnlyFans site, but I have one subscriber, and I'm horrible about updating it because I'm like, what do you put on it? And then last year there was that one girl that made $1 million selling her bathwater, and I literally was like, ugh, I can't compete with that. One, ugh, and two, I don't have a bathtub, so what am I gonna do? Stand in the shower and collect it down here, and then be like, here you go. Not really, people. Really.
A lot of that I think is probably gimmicky, but you'll come up with something because I know that you're just so marketable and you're so personable, and I think you're great at this. This show has tripled in viewership since the first episode. I was looking back at your first episode, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got all these amazing viewers. She's viral.
I know. Last week with Charlie, we had supposedly the highest ratings of viewers that we've had to date. So I love that everybody watched me drop my duck last week.
Oh, I did see your duckies. They're so cute.
Yeah, they're cute. And a little cray. Okay, question number 3. Let's see what I wrote down, because I wrote them all down earlier. Oh. Favorite memory of me. It can be Disney, it can be whatever, but what's one of your favorite memories of me? It can be as Bradford or Juleigh, because you knew me as both.
I mean, is Julie my favorite memory? And I think what kind of reset our friendship back into like close proximity was you speaking at UCF. I mean, that was pivotal, not only for me as an advocate, but for you because of the exposure it garnered. And so you speaking at that event made such a huge impact on our students with diversity and inclusion and just, so that's my favorite memory of you, seeing you in that limelight and sharing your story, which I'd never heard before. I didn't know your story. It was just beautiful and touching. It brought me
because at Disney, I knew at 17 I had the extra chromosome, but when I worked at Disney, I was in my early 20s and I just assumed I was a gay guy, and I finally felt accepted somewhere and accepted for me. And there were so many people. I mean, that was what was great about entertainment at Disney was it was kind of a running joke for everybody outside of entertainment that that's where you win if you're gay or accepting of the gay community. But to people in Department 384, we really talk about it being a family. I'm still in touch with everybody we worked with. And even to this day on Facebook and social media platforms, we reach out and we talk and we share and we laugh and we cuddle and we support and but I was Bradford then, and I didn't know any better. And then it wasn't until 43 when all that other stuff happened at the National Institute of Health that everything changed for me. So even when I spoke to your students, that was all pretty recent. Like everything that I had to go to was recent. And then of course, all the things in Central Florida and the media. And I do have to admit, while it allowed me to get my story out, it was a little daunting at first because all these people were like, wow, you're everywhere. And I thought, do I want to be a pioneer? Is this what I want to sign up for? And now I love advocating for the intersex community. I just accepted a moderator position on Facebook for one of the national intersex pages. So I love that. And I love that I can use my platform to educate and honor and advocate. But even when I spoke at UCF just a mere 2 years ago, almost.
I have you on my board. So UCF thought you were so important. That created a poster board of you, giant size.
Oh my gosh!
Sorry, it's displayed at UCF, and this is the article that was posted about you from the court case. So it hangs on my wall. They gave me one. I could get one for you and send it over too.
Oh my God, I would love one. I would love one.
Article. So
I would love that.
You hang in my office. I think about you.
I love that. I love that. And thanks to you, so many things happened for me in Florida. Let's touch base on that a little bit while we're going through the 5 question parts, because everybody wants to know about what's going on in Alabama. So to set the scene for everybody listening at home that hasn't read my blog or maybe hasn't touched on this, I was born and raised in Alabama in 1975. And after I changed my name with Irene's help, and after I did all that, I went back to Alabama and said, great, I need to update my passport. I need to do everything that everybody else would do. And Alabama said, well, you need to prove that you had sexual reassignment surgery and you got a vagina. And I went, what? Because I was born intersex. I didn't have to get a vagina. I was born with one ovary and one testicle. They were removed like in a hysterectomy type thing. Precancer was scraped. I was born with no Adam's apple, breast tissue, half a pancreas, but everything in my medical journey had said, you're female, you're male and female. You just had to take the estrogen. So there was nothing to prove to Alabama that said, I went and got a vagina. And the more we looked into it, they were like, no, we need to know that you transitioned and that you got the whole body workup. And I thought, is it the same for female to male? Do you require them to go get a phallus in order to change their, like, I thought there's no way that this can be true. So you have to remember it's Alabama. So I reached out to Irene again. We had talked about, or she talked about, hey, I may be able to help you. Let's file a petition in Florida because you've lived here for so many years. And she can explain more kind of what the thought process was behind it. So go ahead and explain that, I guess.
So the thought process behind filing it here is that pursuant to the Constitution of the United States, there's this thing called the full faith and credit clause. And all that means is that if you go to another state and you have a piece of paper from Florida, that they need to honor it. So the goal was for us to get approval here so that we could then go take our paperwork to Alabama and flaunt it and say, listen, we have a court order because of this full faith and credit clause. You have to legally recognize it. And that is where we're at now.
So in January of that same year, we kind of filed, her students got involved, helped write and kind of form this petition with her help because there was nothing on Florida documents and kind of law garnering and protecting intersex. There was tons of stuff in the state kind of helping and pushing the trans agenda, but intersex is not trans. There are some people that are intersex that feel trans and definitely go in that direction. But as a whole, you know, trans is more of you were born in a cisgendered body and want to change. Intersex is 42 different variations of genetic and chromosomal gene placement and makeup that makes you intersex. And there was nothing on the books in Florida for that. So in a way, that petition was the first, and that kind of threw me in the spotlight. As we fought, the first judge said, I'll get back to you. I don't know enough about it. So Irene and her team and her students went back and they poured through over 50 different or more cases and had help looking at things all over the country. And the judge finally came back and said, I don't feel comfortable ruling in your favor. And so he did. So then we looked at taking it to the appeal board or the appeal court in Florida. And the trans community kind of came back and said, we've worked so hard to get where we are. And the last thing you would probably want to do is thwart that. So we kind of asked you to not appeal it. And I thought, I support the trans community, but this is a whole nother ball of wax. And that's not really fair to me either. So we found an attorney in Miami, Elizabeth Schwartz, and we partnered with her. And they ruled in September that I could have my gender change, that Florida recognizes that I don't have to have sexual reassignment surgery to be female or Juleigh or intersex. But Alabama pushed back and they still said I need to prove that I had surgery. So right now, where are we?
So right now we've reached out to the attorneys. I've been given 3 names of attorneys in Alabama and I've reached out to them. One of them has gotten back to me and we are waiting to see if they're going to evaluate the case to take it on a pro bono basis. Because obviously we have no money.
Right.
And we
have no money and I have no vagina. I know everybody's like.
So without money or your vagina, we're doing our best to figure out who's going to take the case. And I know that there's somebody out there that will do it because it's such a high profile case and it's such an issue that matters to so many people. And you are the pioneer. I just feel like what you're doing and the work that you're doing is so important that we will find somebody to represent you in court. And I'll be there all the way with them.
I know. I love you. I think people often ask me if I want to get a vagina. That's often a popular question on TikTok. And what people don't understand about intersex, and it's still new to so many people, I can't. You know, my doctors that performed my hysterectomy said, look, I worked on 3 intersex people now, and y'all all look like you have 4 or 5 roller coasters intertwined. There's no way that you can get a vagina. Where a trans person can go and have the surgery done and their labia formed and all that, and that's great. I'm happy with what I have. It reminds me of who I am and where I've come from. We joke about it. You know, I call it a clitter dick. Is it a clit? Is it a dick? Nobody knows. But I found that people don't care because people love me for me.
Who you are. Yeah.
And so there are men out there, straight and gay, that still want to date me and love on me. And that's good enough for me because it doesn't define who I am. And I am still intersex. So it's just part of that Bride of Frankenstein makeup. Okay. Question number 4. Favorite thing about teaching law?
My advocacy work is my favorite. And the students, it's rewarding. I actually have students that I go up against in court now. So it's really cool. Yeah, to see everything you've done. And because I've been teaching for so long, that they're now my opposing counsels. And so to kind of see that come full circle in their development, and to think that I played a very small part of education is really rewarding.
I love that. That's so much fun. Your students were so sweet and engaged and wanted to know everything. I loved it. Okay. Last question. Mother's Day is coming up, and your mom is one of the when we all worked at Disney, everybody loved her mom. Also a Disney employee. Julio was in entertainment. Sariella was in entertainment and friends with so many of the princesses. You were in entertainment. And then your mom was just kind of a stronghold. So in honor of Mother's Day, what is one of your favorite characteristics about your mom that you draw from?
Her stubbornness. I hate it, but I love it. She's stubborn, and she wouldn't have gotten me where we are today without that.
I loved, there's a great article about Irene and her advocacy work. It's on my Facebook page. I shared it the other day. And you can go to UCF and just Google her, and tons of stuff will pop up about us and her. But she tells a great story in there about how she remembers being young and telling her mom that she wanted to be a lawyer because she wanted to be able to have the opportunity to help people. And she also wanted to be able to have the financial means to be able to take care of her mom late in life. And all of those kids have been able to do that. And I love your mom. Like, she probably doesn't remember me. She might.
No, she does. She asks about you all the time. I told her I was doing this tonight. She's like, "You're so crazy. You guys are so crazy."
Well, we love you, Mama Pons.
I'll show it to her. So
we love her. Okay. So now comes the part in the show where I allow my guest to ask me one question. Sometimes they ask 2. I don't care. But one question that they've always wanted to ask me about my journey that maybe they weren't sure how to approach, or it could be a question you've asked me before that you feel like maybe needs to be heard again. But I always allow them to ask me one question about being XXY and intersex. And in answering the question for my friend, I'm able to do that for them, but I'm also able to kind of educate the masses. So let's hear your question.
I think I have a 2-part answer. So okay. The first one is, because you had female parts, did you ever have hormonal changes where you felt like you had PMS or ranges or things like fluctuations, like,
Yes. So when I was on testosterone at 17, that caused a lot of mood swings and made me very aggressive. And the testosterone would rise and lower, and it would enter into your system and go out. Estrogen's the same way, but I am on so much more estrogen than I ever was on of testosterone. I'm on about 38 milligrams a week of estrogen. And if you're transitioning, they usually put you on a high dose max of about 4, 5 a week, because they worry about blood clotting and aneurysms and just everything that can happen. So to be on 38 milligrams, that's insane. I went through hot flashes really fast. I had an early menopause about 6 months in. I have PMS every month. Obviously, I don't have a vagina, so nothing kind of sloughs off and falls out for me. Some stuff does come out the way that it can, but I definitely, I get very moody. I get very temperamental, bitchy. I couldn't open the door to the garage the other day, and I basically body slammed it to get it open. And my friend was like, Jesus Christ, Julie, like you body slammed the door. And I was like, happens. It happens. And I'm but I also find that on the estrogen, I'm a lot more assertive. I never had a filter. Now I really don't have a filter. I get what I want. So as Bradford, I felt like people didn't take me seriously, and I was invisible, and I just felt like on the testosterone I was moody and mean, and I can be mean on the estrogen too, but it's like testosterone on like power drive 18,000 times higher. Obviously that makes me friskier sometimes.
Need some of that.
Watch out with these boobs come. I'm gonna be like,
You touching them all the time.
Yeah, probably. My friend Charlie is like, you're gonna be posing in the mirror and like playing with yourself. And I was like,
right.
Possibly.
You'll do that TikTok. You got to do the TikTok where you swipe and there's nothing, and then all of a sudden it's like, ba-bam.
I'll get kicked off. Maybe I'll have to wear like a bikini top.
Yeah, cover your nipples for the love of Pete. But
let me be honest. I was thinking about the swipe the other night, and I was like, too bad I'm not friends with like Heidi Klum. I could go swipe, Heidi Klum, swipe, and then be like, wow, this estrogen. Good stuff. And it's like Heidi Klum.
Yeah, I think you should totally do the swipe one. I wanted to do one before and after I got my implants taken out, and I totally forgot because I would have been like, all right, see, nothing, and now, something and nothing. But people, I went to acupuncture tonight, and they're like, you look so different. What's so different about you? You've lost weight. You look skinny. I'm like, I have no breasts. That's what I have no breast. So
I lost my breast.
Yes, I look.
Where'd they go?
Yeah, they're gone. She's like, oh yeah, I thought something looked different. I'm like, yeah.
It's like that scene in Still Magnolias where she's like, nobody move, I lost the contact. Yeah. You can totally go in public and be like, nobody move. I lost my breast.
Lost my breast.
Just kidding. What was your second part of your question?
Oh, so the second was, do you ever wake up some days and feel more masculine or more feminine? Like, do you want to just still go back to Brad, or are you fully like feel feminine all the time?
I still feel split sometimes. I feel like the percentage is heavier on the female end, obviously. I think when I get my breasts done, I'll certainly feel more. I don't want that to be the reason for people why I'm getting the breast. It's not. I mean, obviously I have some body dysphoria, but sometimes, there's, like I said to my OBGYN, I'm like, I grow more hair in my face now as Julie than I ever did as Bradford. Because I could go like 2 or 3 weeks to not shave as Bradford. And now I'm like bicking it every day, like get the hair out of my face. There are times when I wake up sometimes and I lay in bed and I'm like, fuck it, I ain't got nothing to do for 2 days. Let's see if we can get myself a good, rugged 5 o'clock shadow going. But then usually that lasts for like 5 minutes and I'm like, I got to put makeup on today and go. Like a mask is covering like this much. I'm like, shave. But then people are like, why don't you do electrolysis? And I'm like, that's not cheap. There's not a guarantee that it will totally work. And my face, I mean, my boobs this summer, but my face right now is all I have going for me. I can't screw that shit up. Like, I am looking like the elephant man after electrolysis. I'll shave. And my OBGYN was like, women shave. Like, people act like it's a new notion that women shave. But you've seen shaving products for years now. The 14 karat gold mustache shaver and the big old like water shavers. She was like, women shave. It's just that in the 50s and 40s and 60s, they would get up before their man left for work and shave and put their eyelashes back on. And now women are like, fuck that shit. So, I mean, and it's just weird where it grows now. It's growing all on my face, but I can't get my arm. Not that I want my armpit hair to grow because I'm not
into that right now.
Organic like that. I'm not really into that. And I don't have any on my hair, on my legs, which I think is funny. But I'm like, really? Like, whew, like brawny man sometimes in the morning. So, I mean, in that sense, sometimes I'll wake up and still feel masculine. But it's like I explained to somebody the other day, I still feel split. And even with the hysterectomy, and even with some of the things that have been surgically removed internally, I still don't have an Adam's apple. I still have a female-sized heart and male-sized lungs. I'm always going to be a mix of both. And people ask, do you miss Bradford? And I'm like, you know what? For 43 years, he had an opportunity to rule the world. And just like Juleigh was always inside, now he's dormant. So I don't miss him because he's still a part of me, a huge part of me. I know he's in there. And it almost kind of feels like somebody the other day on TikTok said, is this like a twin thing where you ate your twin? And I went, no. But,
what the hell are they watching?
I was like, Jesus, TikTok. And then I was like, no, well, he's inside. No, that's too complicated for everybody. He's in there. But I'm enjoying this ride. And I'm enjoying the attention that Juleigh's getting, that Bradford never got. And that's huge because I feel like people finally see me. And even though Bradford did television and he did Broadway and he did all these great things, it just felt like he was just and nobody really gave him. I mean, people liked him. People at Disney loved him. He had friends. I had friends then. I just feel like I'm getting a lot more volume out of this second life. And I feel like it's easier for people to listen to Juleigh and hear her story than it would have been for them to necessarily listen to Bradford. And I think because of my faith, I think that's a God thing. I really feel like this is my purpose now in life. So buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy.
It is. And I love how that makes you emotional because he is a part of you. And you're right.
Yes.
You didn't eat him. People, she didn't eat Brad.
I didn't.
She will.
Although he's cute. He probably would have been yummy.
He would have been yummy.
Not like eating. I'm not going to even go there. I was going to be like, not like eating Julio. We're not going there.
Oh, my little Julio.
Okay. So that has been our show this week, guys. But real fast before we leave, Irene, what's going on in your life? I know that you are still advocating for families and children at the borders. You were nominated for an Emmy last year for your work on a documentary. Tell us about what's going on and where people can find out a little bit more about you and your career.
Sure. So right now we're working. So our documentary did win an Emmy. It won an Emmy in December, Suncoast Regional Emmy. So we're working on the second documentary. I'll be leaving for a trip to Tucson June 5th through June 12th. And you can find out more about our trip on abreakforimpact.com. And I'm going to be working with humanitarian organizations that are helping migrants in the desert by providing water. We're going on a search and rescue mission for human remains with a search and rescue group that goes out and tries to find people that are lost in the desert that have already crossed into the United States. Last year, there was 277,000 deaths of people crossing from Mexico into the southern Tucson area. And then obviously doing what's called water runs, distributing water to these remote sites, hiking 10 miles with jugs to get to these sites to be able to refill them so that if migrants do cross. And then shed light on the immigration crisis right now with 19,000 children crossed into the United States from Mexico. We've got a real issue on our hands, and they're putting them in these government, like prison type institutions where they're not able to accommodate the children and their needs. And we've had children raped and children sexually abused and assaulted in these facilities. So I'll continue my advocacy work for the immigrants and the children, as well as the LGBTQ community.
That's so important. And thank you for doing that and for sharing that with our viewers and our listeners. Guys, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of Rose All Day, Juleigh/Eeyore's a Mess. Thank you, Irene, Beatrice, for joining us this evening. For all of you that are going to tune in next week or want to tune in next week, I am going to try and have a wine that's rosé. But again, this week I'm doing Smirnoff's Strawberry Rosé. Remember, you can go pick up this neat XX wine tumbler, insulated, $34.99 at justjuleigh.com in the merchandise shop. $5 of every sale will go back to research here in America for the XXY and intersex community. And thank you, Irene.
Thank you, Julie. You guys have a great night.
We will see everybody next week. Thank you.
For more content, follow justjuleigh.com. That's just Julie, JULEIGH.com. Thank you to our guests, and thank you for joining us this evening. Join us next week as Julie tries a different rosé.